Hello and welcome to another video. I'm Maz and today I'm in Gloucester. And in today's video I'll be trying out this Jaguar XF X250 with a V6 diesel. A huge thank you to Dave for lending me his car, and if you are a Jaguar owner and you would like a car featured on the channel, feel free to reach out. Now, I've already done a video on the 2.2 XF, so if you want to see the full overview of the X250, click on the top right hand corner of the screen or in the link in the description down below. In this video we're just going to focus on the V6S. Now, in the UK you can only get the facelift X250 in a 2.2 diesel or a 3 litre. There were petrol equivalents overseas, but in the UK if you wanted a petrol XF X250 facelift you had to go for an R, which you can watch by clicking on the top right hand corner of the screen or in the link in the description down below, or an RS. And the 3 litre turbo diesel was a joint venture between Ford Motor Company, Jaguar's previous parent company, and Peugeot Citroën, which in the case of the XF originally came as a 2.7 but then evolved to the 3 litre. And here are all the specs for the XFS diesel. And whilst the facelift came around 2011, around 2014 there was another tiny update. Now, the 2.2 that I filmed was a 2013 car, so it was a facelift, but this particular car is a 2014 which had another tiny update, mainly with the badges and the key fob. So here is the front of the Jaguar XFS, and here is the key fob. So this was one of the differences between the 2011 and the 2014 variants. The key fob was updated, which I'm personally not a fan of because these are known for peeling. But that being said, you can always upgrade them to the later 2020 key fob, which do not peel. And since the 2.2 that I filmed was a portfolio, if you got the R Sport 2.2 you would get this front end. And because the 2.2 that I filmed was a portfolio, if you got the R Sport 2.2 you would get this front end, which is standard on the S, which gives you a more distinct front bumper with more aggressive looking side intake grills. And you can also have the option to either have chrome surrounds like this, or what Jaguar call black pack, which was only introduced on the later car. And whilst the surrounds are chrome, the mesh is gloss black. They did not leave it uncoloured. And of course it's a 2014 car, so it has the 2014 emblem. And this colour is called sapphire blue, which has this really nice flake to it. Once again, being the facelift, it has these really nice facelifted headlights. Here's the S badge. And once again, here's what the front of the car looks like at an angle coming around. Again, very similar to the 2.2 that I filmed. Silhouette wise it's more or less the same, and once again it's got the chrome surrounds. You could option for a black pack in this variant if you so wish. And this particular car has the Hydra wheels. These ones are finished in Carpathian grey. Being a facelift car, you also get this very shiny chrome section which can also double as a mirror. Speaking of mirrors, you get the same mirrors as seen on the later X260. This particular car has the keyless entry, distinguished by this button here. Coming to the back, once again very similar to the 2.2, but it has a much nicer and more aggressive looking lower valance, and you also get 2 exhausts as opposed to 1. The 2.2 with the single exit exhaust tip and the very plain looking lower valance, in my opinion, looked a bit unfinished, but this one I think does the rear end justice. And of course it has the lip spoiler just like on an R, And the 2014-2015 models had this slightly smaller leaper, and it's also raised higher because they have the Jaguar script here, though this particular car doesn't have them fitted. Once again, check the 2.2 video for what it's like in the back seats. So straight to the front. Because it's an S, you get these slightly sportier looking seats, which are otherwise available on the 2.2 R Sport and the XFR. Here's what the door card looks like. This particular car has the standard Jaguar kick plates, and these floor mats are from an earlier car, and this one even has the very nice aluminium pedals. As I've mentioned, the emblem on the steering wheel is also updated and is only available on the 2014 and 2015 models. Again, same interior as the 2.2. I'm not really going to talk too much with the interior in this video, so I'm just going to mention the differences with this particular car. As I've mentioned, this emblem is updated. You get a distinct S badge on the bottom spoke. Once again, this particular car does not have the radar guided cruise control, and the paddles in this particular car are black plastic with the plus and the minus illuminating at night. This particular car has a black piano interior, and because this is a later car, you don't get the cup holder here, instead a cubby with a 12-volt socket. Luckily, this particular car does have the option of the heated front screen, and unfortunately the facelift car has these very sticky buttons, which, due to the finishes, deteriorating. And here's a close-up of what the seats look like. That's the big difference, the shoulder supports. And thankfully this particular car does have the dynamic button, because the 2.2 didn't. And I'm not sure if the 2.2 is available with that button. Turning on the ignition. The only difference here are the updated Jaguar emblems. Start the car. Center console dial rises. Nothing new here. And nothing new here either, besides the updated emblem. So that's the exterior and interior done now, so let's see what this car is like to drive. Engine's already running, so seat belts. Again, it's a diesel, so not much sound. Into drive, and off we go. And once again, just like that 2.2, steering is somewhat on the weighty side, and this is all in normal mode. The housing for the high level brake light unfortunately eats into rearward visibility. Once again, just like all the other XFs I've driven of this generation. Luckily they did fix that on the 260. Once again, lovely steering, just like the 2.2. Unlike the 2.2, the engine is not very agricultural. I remember in the video it sounded very clattery, but this, also despite being a diesel, does not have that diesel grumble coming into the cabin. So that is a bonus of having the V6 over the 2.2 4-cylinder. And of course it's still turbocharged, so it still has plenty of grunt. And me personally, I think this generation of XF looks better than the 260. Unless the 260 is also a facelift. So stop-start traffic, this car is way more relaxing than the 2.2. Not that the 2.2 was bad, it's just that you can feel the difference coming from that version to this. And at the same time, this is an S, so not only is it more comfortable, more cosseting, more inaudible when driving normally, theoretically it should feel more athletic when putting my foot down, but of course that's for later on. Setting off once again. When normal driving, the car does not rev beyond 2000 RPM, and once again, because it's a facelift, it has the 8-speed gearbox as opposed to the 6-speed, and because it's a hot summer's day and this car has the knurling on the side of the rotary dial, it does feel a bit too warm, which is probably why they went for the plasticky feel on the later cars. On a roundabout, the car moved smoothly. This car is slightly lower than the 2.2 that I drove, but driving through this road full of speed bumps, I wouldn't even know that at all. Bumps are coming through. I'd say slightly more than the 2.2, but then again, that 2.2 was not the sporty trim, and this one's the sporty trim as standard. So overall, in terms of the way this car performs on speed bumps, it's only slightly worse than the Portfolio 2.2. But if you're coming from something sportier, this will feel very comfortable to you. And this road I'm driving through is absolutely patchy. As I've mentioned, stop-start is very smooth in this S model compared to the 2.2. But one thing I've noticed, even if you just flinch on the accelerator, it's way more eager to kick down. So in that regard, the S is way more cross-charactered than the 2.2 equivalent. So here's me setting off very smoothly, but then twitch the accelerator, it almost feels like a kick down. Okay, making my way into the city centre now. There wasn't really much to report with the way this car rode. And at lower speeds, the steering does feel a little light, and it is quite busy here in the city centre, so a lot more manoeuvrability. And even though this car is the size of a 5 Series, manoeuvrability wise it feels like I'm driving a much smaller car. Maybe like a 3 Series in terms of the way this car feels to drive. This car doesn't have stop-start. And turning in. Yep. Once again, just twitching the accelerator makes the car push on. Which I personally like the way it goes. Though for most people, most of the time, the 2.2 is way more reasonable and sufficient. Because this car has the shoulder supports, in theory this car will be way more supportive on this sharp left-hander. So let's see what it's like. And turn. Yep, the seats are definitely supportive. And of course the car itself performed just like the 2.2. As well as the XFR, but I myself didn't have to worry about sliding off like this. So there's one last thing to check, see what it's like on the open road. Okay, making our way onto the dual carriageway, so press this very sticky button to turn it into dynamic mode, and then press down on the dial and turn for sport mode, and that immediately puts me in a higher gear. And the car is now revving almost at 3000 RPM. Considering how eager this car is to accelerate, I've got quite some high hopes with this car. Once again, the light steering starts to wait the moment I put my foot down. Unfortunately, it's a bit busy here. Lane 2 has now cleared. 3, 2, 1, and it's only when I go beyond 3,500 RPM does the diesel start to clatter, like so. And I don't think the difference in dynamic mode is that dramatic over the X250 XF. quickly turn off dynamic mode, put it into normal drive mode, get back to 70. So at 70 this car revs at 1500 RPM, so that's the benefit of having those 2 extra gears in this facelifted car. I'm probably repeating myself from the 2.2 video, but that does make this car very effortless on long motorway journeys. So let's do a U-turn and see what this car is like in manual mode. Okay, going back into dynamic mode. Foot down. Especially on a roundabout, this car's really on it. Back onto the dual carriageway. 3, 2, 1. Luckily the number glows yellow when it tells you to shift up. And I'll definitely say this is more fun to drive than the 2.2. It is a bit busy here on the dual carriageway, but I'm still having a lot of fun. Acceleration is way more dramatic, and it feels a lot more effortless to make its way to the red line. I don't feel like I have to wait too long for it to get up to speed. And like I said, the steering is light when not accelerating, like so. When the foot's on the accelerator, it starts to weight up a little bit. I don't know if that's just me or if that's what Jaguar intended on doing. But yes, if you are considering an XFR and you're not quite sure about the running costs of it, the XFS, including this diesel model, isn't a huge disappointment. It is something worth looking into. And of course, being a torque converter, the downshifts are a little laggy. But that's to be expected on a torque converter over a twin clutch gearbox. And of course there's no supercharger whine. So let's head back to the car park and finalize this video. So that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed watching me try out this Jaguar XF X250. Like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you are new, ring the bell to stay up to speed, and I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.